What is going on, investors? Hopefully you guys are having a great day out there. It is time for the FAANG Stock Recap Show. It is time for Friday. It's time for a 3-day weekend. Guys, it is time to celebrate. We are going to recap all the major news and the technical levels of all the major FAANG stocks on today's show. I'm sorry this show is starting a little bit later than normal. I will tell you at the end of the show, I have an amazing, absolutely selfishly, I have an amazing reason why the show was delayed a little bit. Hopefully it won't happen again anytime soon. Let's kick things off like we always do with Facebook. Start of the week at, is that right? $366 per share. Now we're at $376. These stocks are popping, guys, and we'll talk about more about that in the technical section. Now, tons of news this week, guys. Got a jam-packed show. Facebook gets a record $266 million fine from Irish data regulator. Well, I'll tell you what, $266 million to Facebook. That's not a little bit of money, but to Facebook, it's not a lot of money, okay? But this is what these, we've talked about this multiple times here on the channel, right? These regulators, what are they going to be going after? Money, 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 okay? They're not really looking to break these companies up. They're not looking to give a bunch of business to their competitors. Nah, they're looking to just get some money out of them, and $266 million, why? It is a lot of money, even to Facebook. In the grand scheme of things, not that much. Facebook downgraded at Rosenblatt after Apple takes its trump card. Now, we could have an entire show on this, but after Apple released some software updates, it does, and you're probably seeing prompts on this when you download an app or you're into an app for the first time. It's asking you if you want to be tracked along your entire journey, so that you can download an app and then they can see what websites you've been to. They can see what you've bought on certain sites. They can track you a lot, and it helps. I'm in the online advertising business. It is certainly something in the online advertising business right now that advertisers are having to deal with. But in my opinion, they are slowly going for workarounds for this. I have been in online advertising for 13 years, going on probably 14 or 15 years actually at this point. There is constantly things that interrupt how ads are tracked and how conversions are tracked. This is just another one of these companies like Facebook will eventually get around to it. I'm not trying to talk about this analyst here, Rosenblatt. I'm sure they're doing great research here, and a lot of their research, which I read through, makes a lot of sense in the shorter term. In the longer term, I think Facebook and a lot of online advertisers will figure this out. Now, Facebook's ad measurement glitch undercounted some iPhone users. So this goes along with what I just told you. Now, because Apple is not allowing you to do a lot of tracking, it is screwing up the tracking that advertisers and companies like Facebook are measuring on these ads. And obviously, if you want to buy an ad, it's just like a golf swing. So if you have a golf swing and then you make a change, you'd want to see, are you hitting it farther? Are you hitting it straighter? The same thing is true with advertisers, okay? They buy an ad, they change a keyword, they change a title, they change these types of things. They want to see accurate measurement. Are they getting more clicks? Are people buying more? Are people engaging on that ad? So as we see Apple make changes in the way those things are tracked, well, it's going to mess that up. And so in the shorter to intermediate term, probably even over the next 12 months, it's going to be difficult for advertisers to measure engagement and things like that, because Facebook is going to have glitches and those types of things related to this. So this is just something the advertising business, number one, that they're comfortable with, and number two, they are going to have to deal with. Now, will it ever get back to where it was, where Facebook could just track you all over the web? I don't think it's ever going to go back to that, but Facebook and a lot of other advertisers are going to figure out ways to show you targeted ads. They're just going to be able to figure it out, and we'll see that materialize. And in my opinion, it's going to benefit companies like Facebook that have the money, that have the data, that have the users. They are going to leverage that and be able to get ahead of other smaller ad networks and things like that. Not trying to get into the minutia of online advertising. I'm just saying it is a subject I'm very passionate about, and I'm giving you on my opinion that Facebook will come out very, very well after it's all said and done. Facebook to de-emphasize, this was interesting, de-emphasize politics in its newsfeed. Hello, Facebook. Could you have done that maybe like 4 or 5 years ago when people were going like crazy, literally on both sides? I'm not trying to call one side or the other crazy. We literally have crazy people on both sides. I recall there was somebody that went to a baseball field and actually shot people that were in a certain political party. And I think we all remember a couple of months ago, people going to the Capitol building and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Facebook, could you have done this a couple months ago? So I actually think this is not a bad thing. I think Facebook in its news feed, it should be customized. If I like going to Facebook and seeing the latest gossip or news or whatever it has to be on politics, and let's face it, politics are entertainment for a lot of people. Just like I like watching a basketball game or a baseball game, that entertains me. Some people like to see what's going on in Washington with the president, a former president, congressmen, men and women. Like, people liked to be entertained by that. I certainly think my parents are constantly watching political news. I tell them it's like your form of entertainment. So go ahead, be angry, be mad, be happy, however it makes you feel. So I think Facebook should customize this a little bit and allow users to de-emphasize it if I want. If I want to go to Facebook and only see puppies and kids, I should be able to do that. If I don't want to see politics, or if I want to consume politics and read everything about every political thing that I want, I think they should do that. So hopefully Facebook ends up going that route. Now, moving on to Apple. Hello, breakout alert, breakout, amber alert, breakout alert. Apple absolutely broke out to the upside this week. Started the week at 147. We talked about the level when we get over to the technicals over at Apple. We talked about this level right at 150. You break above 150. Look at this. We put a big old green candle. I'm like spoiling the technical analysis on Apple, but I think this is a big enough news that we want to do it. Okay, we talked about we got above 150, and boy, we ran all the way up to 154. I'll talk about, can we pull back? Can we pull back to 150? And could we pull back all the way to 145? And whether or not you should be concerned if it does that. We'll talk about that here in a second. Now, Apple's employees call for company to change in an open letter to Tim Cook. I thought this was interesting. So we don't necessarily get to see this as shareholders and certainly outsiders to companies. You walk into an Apple store and everybody seems so happy and those types of things, and you see Tim Cook get $240 million bonus, or like maybe a $700 million bonus. I can't remember how much money we reported that he got last week. But you think it's all sunshine and roses. Well, it's not. Workers at Apple want to see improved wages, respect for workers' privacy, and in general treat Apple employees better. And as a shareholder of Apple, I was going to say major, but for my portfolio, I'm a major shareholder of Apple. It's a big part of my portfolio. I'd like to see these things too. Apple, we've gone through the financials. They can afford to implement all these things, and I hope Tim Cook takes that seriously. In all seriousness, I hope he takes it seriously, and I hope he addresses the employees' needs, because Apple needs those employees, in my opinion. Now, Apple pauses their I won't say that word, but maybe inappropriate photo safety feature over privacy concerns. So if you missed this story, if you uploaded photos to iCloud, so you take a photo on your phone and then it uploads to iCloud, which happens automatically a lot of the time. Sometimes you might not even be aware that that is happening. Well, Apple is going to create some kind of AI software, okay? Whether or not how they were going to implement that, I don't know. And they were going to scan through photos on iCloud looking for bad stuff happening to children. Okay, I think you can understand we're on YouTube here, and I don't want to say certain things. So, and look, as somebody that can argue, I can argue both sides of this. Apple is going to take a step back. And they decided to pause this and decided to look into it more. I think that their messaging behind this was absolutely terrible. The way this story got out to people was absolutely terrible. It didn't really come from Apple. Apple should have been out in front. If they wanted to do this, they should have had an event. They should have done, not like a happy event, but they should have done something where they highlighted this. Instead, this kind of got leaked out, and then obviously libertarian and privacy groups and those types of things really kind of had a problem with this. And me too. I don't necessarily think This is something that that should be taken as lightly as it seemed like Apple did. I'm glad they're pausing this. It looks like they're going to revisit that at some other time. More news on that when we get to Amazon as well. Apple's VR or AR, that's virtual reality or augmented reality headset, to require phone or device connection. So what this is related to, so they're going to come out with a headset eventually, we assume, over at Apple. It's been rumored for many years. Who knows when it's going to come out? But it is reported that if and when it comes out, and look, these are just rumors, okay? With Apple, I've seen lots of rumors. Hey, when this comes out, it's going to be this, and then it comes out and it's completely different. But right now, and it kind of makes sense that they're going to come out with a headset with not all the chips, and I'm talking about computer chips inside. Well, it's going to be able to leverage your phone's computer chip. And so that could be kind of interesting. It could drop the price of the AR VR headset. So instead of being something that's super expensive because it has expensive chips and those types of things that are pretty hard to find these days and in short supply, well, those can be in the phone, and the phone can then pair with your AR VR headset. I thought that was interesting with Apple. Now, Apple will let reader apps link to websites for account signup. So this is not that big of a deal. It is related to a Japan Fair Trade Commission investigation into the App Store. What we are seeing with Apple and the App Store is them just bending backwards. And this is interesting. Okay, yes, some of it is pushed through regulation and some of this stuff that we're seeing in Japan, but here in the United States as well, court-ordered, those types of things. We're seeing Apple being pressured, but some of these steps are actually proactive by Apple. Apple's actually making changes that I believe that Apple obviously has an incredible team of lawyers that are probably extraordinarily well paid, but I think those lawyers are advising Apple that they are going to lose a bunch of these cases. So those lawyers must be looking at case law. They must have a feeling on how things are going to go. Or maybe Apple just wants to get out in front of this. So if a bad ruling comes out and says, hey, you can't charge an app tax, or you can't do this, you can't do this. Well, Apple have already taken steps to kind of mitigate that. So it's one of those two things. We'll see what happens. But either way, Apple is getting out in front of this. I like that. I much rather companies get out in front of their own destiny than have a politician do it, than have a judge or a regulator or someone like that or even a competitor make that decision for you. Make those decisions yourself over at Apple. Get out in front of it. I like that. Now, Apple, Arizona, and Georgia, this is kind of interesting, are the first states to allow driver's licenses in your Apple Wallet. This would have came in handy today. I was trying to purchase something out here in California, and guess what I needed? My birth certificate. Yeah, I bet if some of you guys out there can understand what I was trying to buy out here, where I need a freaking birth certificate to buy something. And we're not talking about something crazy. We're talking about something that cost $30 I was trying to buy. I needed my freaking birth certificate to buy it. I sure wish I had it in my Apple Wallet. I think this is just the next generation, whether or not you let Apple handle it or maybe some other third party or Google or someone else. But this really comes in handy. Another thing, I was having my car service today. They needed to see my insurance. It took me like 10 minutes to log into Geico and find this to show them to get a loaner car or whatever. Well, these types of things would be much better suited in a digital wallet. I think this is the future. Whether or not you want to store your information, your insurance card, your ID on that, I think should be completely up to you. But if you want that option, I think it's absolutely fantastic. Future Apple Watch models will include fertility tracking, gotta say that slow, and fever detection. So we've got an Apple Watch coming up. It is having some new sensors. I don't think that's any news to people, but what I wanted to show you is actually this next headline was Apple Watch Series 7 reportedly hits production delays a month before launch. So this thing is supposed to come out in about a month. And here's what it says is, according to Asia sources, manufacturers started small scale production of the Watch Series 7 last week, but quickly ran into critical challenges assembling components which are significantly different than previous generations of the wearable. The manufacturers reportedly struggled to achieve satisfactory performance. Now, what did I say there? I think the key thing is that the components are significantly different than previous generations. I think this is what we can say about this. The next generation of Apple Watch is probably not going to be like a lateral increase over the Series 6. It actually might be a step up, and it might get people that maybe even just bought a Series 6, but certainly have a 5 and a 4 and maybe even a third series generation watch say, hey, this new 7 series has all these new sensors, it has all this new stuff. Because look, if it was an easy upgrade from 6 to 7, all they were doing was slapping on, a couple lipstick and some makeup and calling it a Series 7, well, I think the manufacturers would be able to put this thing together, no problem. This is showing me that Apple is probably pushing the envelope on this watch Series 7. So I'll be really interested when the launch event happens. I'll be interested to see what the changes are there, and it could signify maybe some changes in some other products down the road. We'll see what happens. Apple's satellite iPhone feature to focus only on emergency calls. This was the big news earlier in the week. It sent some satellite stocks like Global Star and Iterum Communications and numerous others, sent them soaring early in the week as a report when the Apple iPhone 13, which I think is scheduled to have a release event here in a couple weeks, that is supposed to allow you to have satellite calls. Now, it was kind of rumored that you might be able to do satellite calls whenever. So if I drive up to my cabin in the woods, which has no reception, I would be able to get reception via my satellite connection on my iPhone. Now, it's not clear whether or not that circumstance will get into the edge case where I have no service at my cabin. So could I call my mom? Could I call my wife? Could I call, whoever I wanted to call from my cabin using that? Or will I only be able to get in hold of emergency services? I think we'll find out. I think it's going to be, I can only make a 911 call. I can make a call to a fire station or whatever it might be in terms of emergency services there. Moving on to Amazon Breakout. Hello. If you bought the dip, like we said, I said you should. Look, I'll be frank with it. I said you should have bought the dip on Amazon. This was a week or two ago, actually 2 weeks ago. And so far, it's looking good. Look, it could go down next week and go all the way back down, and I still think it could be a great buy the dip opportunity. We started the week at 3,321, and you guessed it, we retested that 35 level. We ended the week at 3,478. We'll talk about that from a technical perspective here in a second. Amazon branded television could launch in the US as soon as October. So we talked about this a couple weeks ago. What Amazon did is they partnered with Best Buy on where you could buy a TV on Amazon and you could go pick it up at Best Buy, which I thought was awesome. I think that's great for Amazon. I think it's even better for a company like Best Buy. Well, Amazon, as we know, they're trying to close on that deal with MGM Studios, which is like James Bond and a lot of other TV shows and those types of things. So Amazon, I think, is trying to be kind of like vertically integrate entertainment, right? Okay, so they have some of they have the subscribers already. Okay, Amazon Prime subscribers, they got more than 100 million of those. Okay, so they have the subscribers, they have some content, Amazon Prime TV and that type of thing. Well, and then they have Alexa, which is kind of integrated a little bit there. But now they want the hardware. So they're going to go to the TV. I think this is a natural progression. I love what Amazon is going to do there. Are they going to make a ton of money selling TVs? Probably not. But are they going to be able to vertically integrate like a Netflix can, which we'll talk about here in a minute with Netflix? Can they vertically integrate, create their own hardware? It doesn't seem like it's something they want to do. Amazon is going to be able to do that. Because believe me, you buy an Amazon TV, I mean, they're going to push you to Amazon Prime Video and all those types of things. This is somewhat not related to Amazon, but closely, and it's a stock that's well covered here on the channel, and I get a lot of comments about, is Fastly stock rises as top customer Amazon reportedly returns to the network. So Fastly ran into some problems. We did a video on Fastly. I thought one of their executives should absolutely be fired for the absolute disaster numbers that they put up and the fact that they had problems with their networks and made Amazon go other directions. Well, that appears to be working its way out. Fastly does have a very nice product, which a lot of people have brought up, and I understand, and it looks like they could be back on track with getting Amazon back in as a customer. Amazon is adding 55,000, yeah, not 5,000, 55,000 tech jobs, not dollars, tech jobs under CEO Andy Jassy. So I like this. Andy Jassy's coming in, and he's not just hiring I'll say entry level is probably the best way to say it. Entry level Amazon worker, where you're coming in, you're working in the warehouse, you're pickpacking and shipping and those type of things. Amazon has tons of those workers, and they had to expand those number of workers exponentially over the last year, right? Okay, what they haven't invested in enough, I think, is actually the technology. And if you used Amazon's back end, I just loaded up a box that I'm sending product into Amazon and those types of things. It's a little clunky. And so I like that they're investing in this space. Hopefully I see some of that as well. Amazon is reportedly planning Clubhouse-style live audio feature. This integrates well with Alexa. It also integrates a little bit with what we talked about with the TVs and stuff like that. Amazon's just trying to vertically integrate the hardware, the content, and the subscribers. They have the subscribers. They have some of the content, and they're constantly getting more. And they have a little bit of a hardware when it comes to Alexa, but they certainly could do more. If they get big into audio, they could do headphones, those types of things as well over at Amazon. Affirm, this launched right after we posted our video. I got some comments about it, had some great discussion about it. Affirm, which is a buy now, pay later. It's a company that I actually have used several times to make several purchases. No interest. They'll give you no interest for like 6 months. And sometimes it's on something that's like $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 purchase. One of them's on my wrist right here. And no interest. Whenever you can borrow anybody's money for free for 6 months, it's like the greatest, especially in an era of inflation, even temporary inflation. It's one of the greatest deals of all time, especially if you're financially savvy, which I know all of you watching this certainly are. And Affirm shares rocketed by 46% following Amazon payment deal. So this was already a feature on Amazon. So if you have the Amazon card, you can automatically defer interest-free payments. I think it was like 6 months. I think it's almost any purchase. For a while there, I think it was any purchase over 100. I want to say it's like almost any purchase. You can just defer the payments over and they bill it to you on your credit card. So this was already a feature on Amazon, kind of buy now, pay later, but it required you to have the Amazon, like JP Morgan Chase card. This, they're bringing in a third party, Affirm, and they're going to pass the credit risk or some of the credit risk off onto Affirm. And the first thing that came to mind when Amazon partnered with Affirm and their stock rocketed, I mean, it was a $67 stock. Now it's like nearly $100 stock. The first thing that came to my mind is, oh my goodness, Affirm must have gave Amazon incredible terms on this, okay? Because who needs who more in this relationship? Amazon already had this feature on their website. They didn't need Affirm. Okay, Amazon has they're just about to hire 55,000 tech people. They could figure this out, but not to say that Amazon doesn't need Affirm at all, because they're going to be able to pass the credit risk off onto Affirm and still get paid for transactions that don't necessarily go in the best direction. So both companies need each other, but I think Amazon probably got incredible terms on this, okay? So whatever Affirm came and they negotiated, it was like Amazon was like, well, why wouldn't we add them? Because it's costing us such little money. What does Affirm get out of it? A bunch of customers, a bunch of acquisition, a bunch of ways to get in a customer into your ecosystem and then ship them off to buy other things, not just on Amazon. Win-win for both companies. Moving on to Netflix, breakout alert. I know a lot of you guys, I hear the calls to replace Netflix with NVIDIA. I have a solution for that. I'm extraordinarily busy with my family and those types of things. I don't want to try to launch a new show without having the time commitment behind it. I will get that shored up and I will bring you a video shortly. But for the time being, Netflix is in the FAANG Stock Recap Show. And guys, why not? Because it broke out to the upside. We'll talk about this from a technical perspective, but we started at 556 and we talked about this, that this thing, once it got up to the level it was at, it was going to either break up or break down, and it broke up big to 590, approaching, I believe, all-time highs for Netflix. Talk about that more from a technical perspective here in a second. Now, Netflix teams, I just threw this in because I love golf. PGA Tour teams with golf on docuseries. So it's going to follow PGA Tour guys to tour, maybe like in their hotel room, them practicing their afterlife or whatever it might be. I can tell you what, Tiger Woods 10, 15 years ago would have been probably pretty epic content on that front. But, look, I think this is kind of interesting. If you're a fan of golf, I think that would be fun to watch. Netflix gains 2% as Citi raises its price target on pricing power. Hello, Citi must be watching the investor channel, because we have told you for probably about a year now that the story over at Netflix is not subscriber growth. It is pricing power. It's raising prices. And here's the quote from the analyst. He says, as Netflix transitions from net ads, which is subscribers, to a free cash flow story, ARPU, or average revenue per user, is likely to become more important for top line growth. And we've been telling you this, and I'm not trying to belittle this analyst. He is making a great point here. He is just emphasizing the point that we've made here on the show many, many, many times, that Netflix is done growing exponentially. Will it grow a little bit? Sure, it'll have some growth. The way it's going to grow is either bolt on another thing that makes its money, maybe a TV, maybe look, and I don't know. I don't necessarily have any great ideas. Maybe advertising, something like that. Or they just charge people more. Okay, and we'll see if they're able to do that. Maybe they can still raise prices 50, 60%. That would be absolutely amazing and would mean the stock is probably super undervalued even at today's valuation. Moving on to Google. Spoiler alert, this one went up again and again and again. Started the week at 2,837, ended the week at 2,875. Has this just been the easiest way to make money in the world over the last year? Is just buy Google stock and watch it go up every day, basically? Google's YouTube Music hits 50 million paid subscribers. I thought this was interesting. So subscribers can pay $10 a month for YouTube Music or pay $12 a month for YouTube Premium, which includes music and additional video offerings, including no commercials. Like, I watch a ton of YouTube. I don't know how you can watch YouTube and not pay $12 a month. Look, I understand everybody's in a different financial situation, but for me personally, $12 a month is nothing considering I don't have to sit through ads. Now, here's the thing I'm wondering is, okay, for $12 a month, I don't listen to music on, I can listen to music on YouTube Music, but I don't. Am I counted as one of these 50 million paid subscribers? So that's what I'm wondering, is that maybe Google put this number out there, but these aren't everybody that's subscribing to this. I'm statistically a YouTube Music subscriber, but I did it to get no ads when I watch Graham Stefan or some, Stephen Van Meter or Trader Merlin show here on YouTube. So that's primarily why I did it. Now, DOJ prepares to sue Google for antitrust over its ad business. Hello, this is the biggest business that Google runs. I think it's still well north of 90% of their revenue. This would have been, this is a huge story. The Justice Department is preparing an antitrust suit against Google and its digital ad business. And the only reason why I'm a little nervous about this is because I think you could make an argument. I'm not sure how strong of an argument it is, but I think you could absolutely make an argument that Google has such dominance in the digital ad business that essentially them and Facebook are the absolutely kings of that space, that it is a little anti-competitive, okay? Because they have such a dominant position, me as somebody that buys ads, look, I bought $10,000 worth of ads on Google last month, okay? Not over the last year. Last month, I spent $10,000. I think it was like $9,800 on Google alone, just Google, okay? And I don't have any reason to go to anybody else, okay? And so, yeah, maybe it is. So this is something we're going to closely monitor here on the channel and see what happens there. Google is building its own chips for Chromebooks, ramping up Pixel plants. We talked about this, I think, on a couple shows ago. This was already news that had broke, but it is showing you that these companies are moving more into the space. Just like Apple is producing their own chips for their Macs. They've been doing it for a long time with their phones and their iPads, but they just started they shifted away from Intel and they've gone to their own chips in the certain models. They haven't completely gone away from Intel, and Google is doing the same thing. And Microsoft to a certain degree as well. And so what I think will be interesting is we've seen NVIDIA and AMD do acquisitions in the fab space. What I think might be interesting is Google and Apple have tons of cash sitting on the balance sheet. They have spent as much money as they possibly can on buybacks. Apple does pay a dividend. Google doesn't. I don't necessarily think they have to. I think it'd be interesting if they built their own fab, and because they know they can't acquire one. Okay, the regulators aren't going to let any of these companies make a big acquisition like that. They'll barely let NVIDIA or AMD do it, okay? They might not, okay? They certainly wouldn't let Google acquire one of those companies, but they have the money to build this from scratch. And so maybe they will do that. And not only build it from scratch, but acquire a bunch of employees that would just run from Intel, run from AMD, run from, maybe not necessarily those companies, but for the right price, they would run from those companies and come work for Google. Moving on to Microsoft. Is every FAANG stock up this week? Start of the week at 297-ish. End of the week at 301. We'll talk about that from a technical perspective as well here in a minute. Microsoft is hosting its Surface launch event on September 22nd amid component shortages. Look, this is going to be the story over at least the next 6 months. There are a ton of ships, not to get into a macro discussion here. There are a ton of ships. In fact, a record number of ships sitting down in Long Beach, which is 4 hours from me. There are just tons of ships there. I was over in San Francisco last week, and I'm going again tomorrow. There are a ton of ships when you go over the Bay Bridge that just out there holding stuff. So these components are going to come over here. And I think that is going to help solve some of this quote inflation debate that we're having, because once these shortages start to shore up, look, prices are going to have to come down because these companies are going to have to sell these products. Moving on to Tesla. Breakout alert. Start of the week at 703, end of the week at 733 on not great news. Okay, Tesla further delays the Cybertruck. Wah. I've got one on pre-order. I'm a little bummed about that. I'll tell you what I did. Just a little personal story. Yesterday, this was even before this news broke. I ordered a 3 Series, okay, a Model 3, because my wife needs a car to get around. We have a nice SUV, those types of things. We also have solar, so it pairs well with an electric car. I was waiting for the Cybertruck. I didn't think it was going to happen next year. Elon Musk confirmed that. They say late 2022. That's just going to be the first deliveries, I think, in my opinion. And the Roadster delayed until 2023. Again, I would guess that would be the first couple deliveries, okay? I thought Elon Musk tweet or his commentary on the Cybertruck was interesting, saying that it's more of a niche product. I don't think Elon Musk is looking at the Cybertruck to be this Ford F-150 killer and those types of things. In fact, I want to show you what he said about this. This is referring to the Cybertruck, and this is Elon Musk saying this, a direct quote. "It will be a special project, like a glitch in the Matrix. Like if Neo had a car." Okay, so yeah, I totally agree. I think the Cybertruck is going to be a special project. That's why I have one on pre-order. That's why I will absolutely buy one. But is it going to be your mainstream Dodge pickup, F-150, Chevy Silverado pickup? Absolutely not. And I wish Tesla would make those products. I wish Tesla would make just your standard non-flip-up door SUV. Make an $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 SUV that just was good for the family. I don't need flip-up doors. I don't need all that crazy stuff. I want doors that open normally. Just make me a safe SUV and I will buy it. Okay? Same thing with a truck. Make your standard, pickup truck, and that thing would sell like crazy. Okay, Ford and GM are selling trucks like crazy. I think Tesla would as well. But at the same time, I admire this company for taking those types of risk, and I think that's why a lot of you invest in that company, and myself included. Moving on from a technical perspective, as you can imagine, this probably ain't going to take a lot of time. We are in an uptrend with Facebook. This uptrend is intact until it's not, and it looks like it wants to run, and given how much Google has run, you can imagine Google's business is exactly the same as Facebook. They get money from advertisers for people to click and engage with ads, and Google stock is run, and it looks like Facebook wants to as well. Breakout alert. Apple, we talked about this earlier. We have been waiting to get above this 150 level. We broke out above, and it actually kind of confirmed it, okay? It put a big green candle. As usual, you kind of hesitate for a second, especially with a major mega cap company, but we confirmed it, and we pushed up here to closer to about 154, almost 155 on this one. We'll see what happens. Now, I tell you what, if Apple or pull back down to 150, no sweat. Pull back down to 145, no sweat. No sweat at all. In fact, I would actually expect that. So I wouldn't necessarily say, hey, this is the start of the rally with Apple, because you could look at Facebook stock. It's broken up, pulled back, broke up, pulled back. This back to the previous area. Same thing with Microsoft when we bring up that chart as well. When these stocks have this initial breakup, pulling back down into the area consolidation is absolutely typical. And if and when that happens with Apple, I will let you know if I think it's a strong buying opportunity. Now, the other thing we saw is Amazon. Okay, Amazon, same thing. We broke out above, and look, it did the same action that Apple did. Big breakout above the previous high, exactly what Apple did. Break above the previous high, although Apple kind of consolidated sideways, a little bit different. But same story here. Broke above, confirmed it, came all the way back down, retested, bounced up to 3,700, and then came all the way back down. This was post earnings, obviously, to about $3,100 per share. We talked about south of $3,300 per share was an absolute stone cold buying opportunity for Amazon. And you might think, well, I missed it. I didn't. And look, it's okay. It's a $3,000 stock, and stocks are just numbers on a computer. You know, there's lots of other things that you could have bought that week and had a lot more fun with. Okay. Now Amazon is back at a critical level, right at that. It's at 34.75, but for all intents and purposes, it's at 3,500. 3,500 was the resistance level that we were looking to break out. So Amazon next week, I'm watching this very closely, because if we get rejected here again at 35, we have a strong odds, not guaranteed, but we have higher probability of coming back down here to 3,300 and maybe below, creating another buying opportunity, another bite of the apple. Just in case you missed it, or in case you're like me, you get another opportunity. I'll buy it again. I'll buy it again. And those of you that watch this channel often enough know I'm not on here telling you buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this. In fact, I rarely say that because it doesn't make sense a lot of the times. I don't buy stocks more than a couple times a year. I look into stocks. Stocks are like one of the biggest things in my life. And I buy them a few times of the year because I want to get it at the absolute best price. And here it is. We could see it. Now, the second scenario with Amazon is we break above 35 and we start retesting 36, 37 on this one. A break and I don't anticipate this happening next week, but it could theoretically. You break above 37 on this one, and again, you could see an Apple run, a Facebook run. Need I say Microsoft or Google run in that one. Same thing going on with Netflix. This swing broke above. Look at this move, big old move. Okay, we were down here at 518. Again with Netflix, a stock I don't particularly own. I think it's more of a trading vehicle down here between 480 and 520. It's a buy, okay? And it's been that way since last year, like over a year. It's been a buy anytime in this range, and it broke above. Now we've broken above the 560 mark. We're at 592. We're basically back at all-time highs. I'm looking for Netflix to go one way. It is either going to keep this rally mode up and push up into 600. I would guess even as high as 620, 640, and this is probably pretty quickly. I would actually expect it to do that very quickly. And if it doesn't, it's going to back test to 560. If it holds 560, that's bullish and it should continue to go higher. It could crap out like Amazon, okay? Come up here, break above, crap out. If it craps out and comes back down here between 480 and 520, I think it's a buying opportunity for Netflix. Not much to see here for Google. Guys, uptrend alert, and it's not stopping. The only reason why we show this, I mean, for one, it's the FAANG Stock Recap Show. We go over this, but this shows you when a stock breaks up and it runs, these mega caps can like literally change your life. Like that kind of run on a stock can change your life. If you have even one share can like literally change your life, okay? Especially over the longer term, okay? Because look, these stocks are going to pull back. They're going to pull back eventually, but are they going to pull all the way back to the bottom of the channel? Whew, I tell you what, your whole portfolio will be absolutely obliterated if that happens to these mega caps. Now, same thing, I tell you what, the Microsoft chart is looking like Apple's setup, okay? Apple consolidated here, broke out. I think we'll have a retest and a pullback. Same thing with Microsoft. Microsoft broke above the trend, just like Apple did, shot up above it, but then came all the way back, consolidated, came up pretty far, all the way up to 260, came all the way back to 240, and then went from 240 up to 300, and we're talking in the matter of like 2 or 3 months. This is why I like to buy and hold. Outside of probably Netflix, these are buy and hold stocks. That's why I constantly talk here on the channel. Buying opportunities. I almost never say selling opportunity. I'll let you make that decision. If you need the money for something, by all means. If you want to buy a house, if you want to buy whatever the heck you want, I'm not here to tell you what you need to buy or sell. But I tell you what, I'm here to tell you when to buy. But if you need to sell these stocks for any reason, especially family related, by all means. Their numbers on pieces of paper and cash in the bank is often a lot more meaningful from that. But not a lot here to say from a technical perspective for Microsoft. We are in an uptrend, and that uptrend is intact until, look, we got a significant pullback. Same thing with Tesla. We're going up a slow channel here. I'm going to actually take that out because that line doesn't mean a whole lot. But we're up a slow channel here, okay? And this channel, we're reaching a critical level on this channel, and it's right at 750. Right now, Tesla stock is at $734 per share. Tesla right now is at $734 per share. It's not until it gets to about 750, and I don't want to say almost guarantee because there's nothing guaranteed in life, and certainly not the stock market. But I think we have a high probability to bolt on $16 to this share price and get right here to 750 and then figure out what this stock wants to do. And if it wants to keep marching its way up, if it gets above 750, we've got very high probability of getting to 800, 850. If you want to play a trade on this one, you can certainly set some stop losses down here. I think right now the obvious one is at 650, okay? Whether or not you want to play that big of a stop loss, but for me, the trend would be absolutely obliterated and broken if you got below these lows. You might be able to bump this up, maybe even into these lows. That is at about $675 per share. That is what we're looking for if this trend is just a shorter term one and it's broken down. We've got to so you have a high here with Tesla at about $900 per share. It made a lower high here at 750. That's what you're looking for here. That's why we're looking at this 750, because I tell you what, if Tesla stock breaks down here and goes from 730 where it's at right now down to 550, this was just a continuation of a downtrend with a little bit of a bounce in between. But if we get above 750 on Tesla, that is a reversal, and in my opinion, brings 800, 850, 900, and if you can get above 900 on this one, $1,000 likely back in play with Tesla. Now, I got myself a Model 3. I put a pre-order in. It's not going to be delivered till January, okay? So, and I bought the base model. I'm not balling out on my Tesla, but I did ball out today, and it is the reason why the investor channel was delayed. I just want to say today was one of the happiest days of my life outside of the birth of my children and meeting my wife, and that is because I went to a Rolex store today, and I got allocated basically my dream watch. Everybody has dream watches. Everybody has things that they like. Some people think watches are silly, and certainly if that's you, I wouldn't blame you, because these things do just go on your wrist and don't do a whole lot other than that. But I got allocated a solid gold Sky Dweller. Now, unfortunately, the GMT Batman that I have on my wrist might have to go, because I'm doing well, but I'm not necessarily doing that well. And so I might have to part with this one, but to get that one is a good day. And here's the moral of this story is just really quickly. In 2008 and 2009, I was absolutely dead broke. I probably had negative net worth. I had probably a negative balance in my checking account. I'm not joking. Probably a negative balance. Okay, this was just 13 years ago. I was absolutely stone cold dead broke. And what did I decide to do? I decided to focus on the stock market and researching it and using my background in finance and getting better at picking companies and making smart investments and being wise about the companies that I bought, and eventually developing a system where I started to focus on the mega cap companies that had a huge competitive advantage and could continue to deliver growth, just like we've seen with Amazon, just like we've seen with Apple, and just like we've seen with all these companies. They continue to grow, and my wealth has grown obviously tremendously over the last 13 years to be able to go in and buy a watch that cost more than the Tesla that I just put an order on. Dreams can come true. I know a lot of you are watching this in different financial situations. You are doing the absolute right thing. It takes time. It's not going to happen overnight, but if you slowly chip away at it, your financial future will get brighter and things will get better. And you will have days like I had today where I literally bought a new car and I bought a new watch. And I tell you what, I could care less about the car. The watch is an absolute stone cold dream come true. And I'll be sure to wear it the very first day that I'm able to get it. It's still going to be like a month or two before I end up getting it. Thanks for tuning in today. Little personal story at the end. If you are short on money, if you are not financially independent yet, you are doing the right thing. You are on the right track. You are going to reach your goals, and I'm going to be here to help you in any way I possibly can. Thank you all for tuning in. I am so blessed to have you guys as subscribers and viewers of the channel. I can't tell you how much I thank all of you. Thanks for tuning in today, guys. We'll be back again next week with more. Good luck with your investments.